As he will pursue legal action after his phone records were exposed in the release of the House Intelligence Committee's report on impeachment. Chairman Adam Schiff subpoenaed both AT&T and Verizon, a move Nunes calls an infraction of his civil rights. Congressman Nunes is the ranking member of the House Intel Committee. He joins me right now. Congressman, it's good to see you.
It's always great to be with you.
How did this happen that he got your phone records and released them to the public to show the public who, in fact, you were talking to?
Well, he subpoenaed digits, basically. And then in there, once he had all this data, then he ran my phone number and pulled out my calls that I had. But he also, I think, more concerning than just me, he did it to the president's personal lawyer and a journalist. And also, I think this is what's most wrong about this. I mean, the whole thing is just sickening. But he did it to one of my current staff members and one of my former staff members, who he doesn't like. Him and his team, they don't like the fact that we exposed them for the Russia hoax that they were involved in.
That's right.
You know, that's what this is all about. So we're putting together a legal team. I think the Republican members of Congress, they have to be concerned, because if they ever spoke to any of these people, their records could be released. And I think journalists should be concerned, because if journalists ever spoke to Rudy Giuliani, at any time that the Democrats decide that they don't like what a journalist has done or what another member of Congress has done, they can just release these.
This is very concerning, obviously, and I'm wondering what recourse you really have. Kimberly Strassel from the Wall Street Journal wrote an op-ed this week saying that the phone records of Rudy Giuliani and others were divulged. Mr. Schiff divulged the phone logs this week, including revealing details about the communications of Trump attorneys Jay Sekulow, Mr. Giuliani, Devin Nunes, reporter John Solomon. The media is treating this as a victory when it is a disgraceful breach of ethical and legal propriety. Yeah,
so state law, so I'm a Californian, so for sure state law, you cannot release somebody's phone records. So for sure that right has been violated. So but we also have to look at the constitutional aspects of this, and do all the members of Congress have a right to privacy, and can just one member, because he doesn't like someone and he's a political opponent of someone, can that member just subpoena records and then release just to embarrass or to create a distraction or to build whatever fantasy land narrative that they continue to build? Because remember, these guys jump from one phony narrative to another. Okay? I mean, what this finally ended up with was that supposedly me and my staff were trying to get an ambassador fired. Now, I'll tell you something. If I wanted an ambassador fired, I'd pick up the phone and I'd call the president. And I'm quite sure the president would take my call. And I'm quite sure the president would probably listen to me. Well, I would have no reason to work it through staff, work it through people I don't know, work it through Rudy Giuliani. The whole thing is absurd on its face.
Well, one of the narratives he was trying to build, including your phone calls, is to say that you were in Vienna, you were meeting with Mr. Shokin, and the last time you joined us...
Well, remember, he doesn't make that in his report. But that's what he was putting out. Well, we don't know if he was putting this out to the media, but then CNN ran this a couple weeks ago. And when I came on your show shortly after that, and I said, look, I want to answer all these questions, but I'm going to get all the facts.
That's right.
And I'm going to file it in federal court.
So that's what I want to ask you about, because now we have the lawsuit. 46-page lawsuit. You have sued CNN. We have these pictures of you here, and these pictures of you are from Libya at the same time that they said you were in Vienna. Tell me again, as we look at these pictures of you in Libya, were you in Vienna?
So that's General Haftar that you're looking at right there. So that's in Benghazi. I was the first member of Congress since the attacks on our consulate where we lost 4 Americans. Okay, that's where I was. I was in Benghazi.
So you were not in
Then
Vienna.
I went with Malta. The picture that you're seeing there now, that's me. That's the remains of the World War II soldier that I attended the ceremony to bring the remains back. So I wasn't in Vienna. I never met with Shokin, and even Shokin says he doesn't even know who I am.
Right.
But now Zucker, okay, he has a response. He has the head of CNN, and AT&T that owns CNN. They were supposed to call us back. They were served on Thursday, right? And the reporters are running around the Capitol still trying to ask me questions. I want to meet them in court. What are they afraid of? What is Jeff Zucker afraid of? You know, we can meet next week in court. We can sit down for a meeting. He can subpoena my phone records. I can subpoena their phone records. Because here's what I want to know. How is it that 6 news media outlets had this story in September.
And how do you know they had this story?
Because they emailed us. We have the emails from different news agencies.
Six different news agencies.
6 different news agencies
emailed
had
you
this
asking
phony
you if you were
story
in Vienna.
that I was in Vienna with Shokin, possibly with some guy, oligarch named Firtash.
Nobody went with the story.
Nobody went with the story, but even worse than that, Parnas doesn't get indicted. This guy Parnas that now is CNN's source. A guy who's been indicted is their source. Okay, that should be questionable in and of itself. So who gave it to Parnas or Parnas's lawyers something that is so demonstrably crazy? That I was in Vienna meeting with Shokin. There's no way I ever said that because it didn't happen.
So what are you suing CNN for specifically then? They knew that this didn't happen. They went with the story anyway?
CNN went with somebody who's indicted, likely to be found guilty, right? And whatever they're doing, I believe that it's obstruction of justice. Mm-hmm. So we will be working with the appropriate authorities. Department of Justice will be sending them information. We'll be sitting down with them because somebody concocted this story in order to try to get this Parnas guy, who I've never met, to get.
Were you ever on the phone with him though? Because there's
I said that.
A phone call.
So what I said I said this yesterday. I went through my records on Friday. Okay, and very clearly, I got a call from a number that was Parnas's wife. I remember talking to someone, and I did what I always do, which is that if you don't know who they are, you put them to staff and you let staff work with that person.
Yeah.
But we also checked. I will even say this: we've checked all of our records. We have no information from Parnas. We have no documents. We have nothing. We have no emails. So there's nothing that we have in our control from Parnas. But you know who's working with Parnas? If Parnas is such a bad guy, Adam Schiff is the guy working with Parnas. Adam Schiff and the Democrats are the ones that are talking to Parnas and Parnas's lawyers. Not me.
Just to be clear, you served CNN on Thursday. They have not gotten back to you yet.
They have not gotten back to us. We're ready to sit down with them.
Real quick, before we go, we got to ask you about the IG report coming out tomorrow. What should we expect here? What kind of wrongdoing? Is it exculpatory evidence? What is the key things?
The key is this and this alone. The reason that we have Horowitz, the reason Horowitz is running this investigation is because House Republicans put out a memo in February of 2018.
I've got the memo here.
And we put that out. So I want Horowitz to either confirm or deny that what we put out to the American people was true. Did they use pieces of the Steele dossier and fake news stories to get a warrant on Carter Page? That's what we want to know.
Okay.
Remember, people have to understand, Horowitz doesn't have a gun. He doesn't carry a badge. He can't arrest people. So any extra evidence that he may have, right? For example, we know there's exculpatory evidence that we've seen on Carter Page that they didn't give to the FISA court. That's critical. If the news story is true about the head lawyer doctoring evidence, that would be massive.
Hold on one second. Devin Nunes, we'll be right back with more.